In the last video, we looked at saving a customer to Stripe. In this video, we're going to look at how we can pull details about our customer out from that customer object. We're doing this down here in this load card info function. We're first just going to delete this little, we're going to delete this bit of code. The first thing we want to check is whether or not our card has a customer at all, because this function is going to load for every user that goes to this page, whether or not they have a card. We're going to use the exact same code we used up here, down here. So if the user doesn't have a card, this if statement will run. In that case, we want to return the code that for the UI indicates that the user doesn't have a card. For this particular UI, that piece of code is return and then a directory with a has card object and a false for that because they don't have a card. Else. And now we want to open up an else statement. In here, we're going to pull the customer details out of Stripe and then get the card sort of information and references out of that customer result. So let's go over to the Stripe website and see what method we're using. Stripe API reference, we're going to retrieve a customer. What we're going to pass to stripe.customer.retrieve is the customer ID, and we'll get an asynchronous callback. Because that's an asynchronous callback, we're going to have to use our friend the async again. So there, cust details, and we're going to go async. I just noticed a problem up there in our update. Run sync and okay, so in here we're going to call that method there. So stripe dot customers dot retrieve this time, and we're going to pass in our customer ID just like we did up here. So we're going to get a customer ID and we'll get a callback with an error and a result, which of course we want to pass into our done. Okay, so we've pulled our card details out of Stripe there. Now we're ready to push them up the stack back to our UI. So let's see what the result we get is formatted as. So this is the format of the result according to the Stripe API. As you can see, we have an ID, all this sort of stuff, and we want to go down here to sources. Now, because of the way we've coded our app, we're only going to ever have one source in our customer. If you can code it to save multiple cards onto a single customer, but that's kind of out of the scope for this video, so I'm not going to cover that. So for the meantime, we can hard code in the fact that we're going to only have one data source. So let's go back to our app, and in here, we're going to pull out there. We're going to check that this particular customer does have a data source, because Stripe may delete the data source from the customer if it expires, or if it gets declined or cancelled or something like that. So we're going to go customer details dot sources dot data dot length, because we're checking the length of that array. If that array is 0 long, we're going to return that the user doesn't have a card. They have a customer, but they don't have a card. Else, we're going to return the card details. That, we're going to pull out the card details out of that array. So up to there, and we just want to get the first item out of that array there. And now we're going to put them into an object just like this. And for the sake of time, I'm just going to copy and paste how the UI expects the details to come. So they expect it to come with a brand, an expiry date, expiry year, and the last 4. It's actually the same as what's here. So you could pass these. Actually, no, you shouldn't pass just pass this card details up onto the client, because that's not a good security thing. So here we're just sanitizing sort of these results. So we just get these 4. We don't want a comma there. Okay, so that's pretty simple. So what we're doing here is we're getting our card details out of Stripe. We're checking if that customer from Stripe has a card attached. If they don't, we just tell the UI that. If they do, we pull our card details out of that customer details array. We tell the client that the customer does have a card, and we give a sanitized copy of the card information to the client. Go back to our website and reload the page to see if our UI works. So we have our details, but why aren't they filling out this array? Okay, we had a little problem there. It's because I didn't put a result in there, because we want to, of course, get the result of our async there. We should also probably be error checking here, but you guys know how to error check, so this is just a little example, so we don't really need that. Let's reload our page and check that it does load those card details in. Give it a second. And there we go. We have our card details. We have the brand, the expiry date, and the last 4 digits of the card. In the next and final video of the series, we're going to show you how to make this button do something. We're going to charge a customer token. And it's just like charging a token before, so we just changed one line. So hopefully you watch that.